brought you. In the quiet coastal town of Belshore, where the sea met the cliffs with an eternal sigh, lived a young woman named Evelyn Moore. She was a painter who found her inspiration in the waves, the wind, and the ever-changing sky. Her small art studio overlooked the ocean, and every morning, she opened her windows to let the sea breeze carry her thoughts far away. Evelyn had lived alone since her parents passed, and though the townspeople adored her, she was known as the quiet soul. She spoke little but felt deeply. Her paintings, ethereal and haunting, spoke in ways she couldn't. Still, despite the beauty that surrounded her, a strange emptiness lingered in her heart, as if she were waiting for something, or someone. That someone arrived one stormy evening in early autumn. His name was Lucas Reed, a former travel journalist who had recently returned from years abroad. He came to Belshore looking for solitude, retreating to an old cottage that once belonged to his grandfather. The sea called to him, just as it did to Evelyn, but for a different reason. Lucas had lost his fiancée in a car accident the year before. He carried her memory like a silent ghost, and in Belshore, he hoped to heal. Their paths crossed at the Sunday market. Evelyn had dropped a sketchbook, and Lucas picked it up. As he handed it to her, their eyes met, hers a calm gray like morning mist, his a deep green touched by pain. He smiled politely. She nodded quietly. And for a brief second, something flickered, recognition without reason. They began to see each other often. At the market. At the cliff trails. At the coffee shop where Evelyn sipped tea and Lucas wrote in his leather notebook. Conversation came slowly, cautiously, like the first drops of rain. But when it came, it was effortless. They shared stories. Evelyn showed him her studio, Lucas read her parts of his memoir. She painted his sorrow. He wrote about her silences. As the days grew shorter and the air turned colder, their hearts warmed. They laughed. They fought. They forgave. On a moonlit night in November, Lucas took Evelyn's hand and said, "I didn't come here to fall in love again, but it feels like the wind brought me to you." She replied, "Maybe we were both carried here by something bigger than ourselves. But love is never without its trials." One winter morning, Lucas received a job offer, an editorial role in New York. It was everything he had once dreamed of. Evelyn encouraged him to go. "You deserve to write again, truly," she whispered, even though her heart ached. Lucas left, but neither of them said goodbye, they only said, "Until then." Months passed. Evelyn painted the sea more than ever. Lucas wrote about a woman with eyes like storms and silence like poetry. And though distance stretched between them, love never left. One spring evening, Evelyn stood by the cliff where they once watched the sunset. The wind picked up, warm and wild. A familiar voice called behind her. "I told you the wind would bring me back." She turned, and there was Lucas, smiling with the sea in his eyes. He didn't have a suitcase. Just a small notebook and a letter. In it, he wrote, "New York had everything, except you. And it turns out, you are everything." They stayed in Belshore. Grew old in the same cottage that once stood quiet and forgotten. Evelyn painted. Lucas wrote. And every morning, they opened the windows to let the sea breeze carry their love into the world. Whispers beneath the willow. In a quiet countryside town tucked between hills and golden fields, there was a lake where an old willow tree leaned close to the water, as though it were listening to the secrets of the wind. That was where Alara met Aiden. Alara was a painter who had moved from the city, seeking inspiration and solitude. She rented a small cottage overlooking the lake, hoping the serenity would reignite the colors in her mind. Every morning, she would carry her easel and paints down to the willow tree and sit there for hours, letting the sunlight and silence guide her brush. Aiden, on the other hand, had lived in the town his whole life. A quiet man who worked as a carpenter, he often passed by the lake on his way to collect driftwood. One day, he saw Alara, her long chestnut hair tumbling over her shoulder as she focused on her canvas. He didn't speak, only watched for a moment, then walked on. Days passed, and he kept seeing her there. She painted with such intensity, it reminded him of music he hadn't heard in years, soft, aching, and beautiful. One morning, he brought her a cup of coffee from the nearby cafe and gently placed it beside her without saying a word. Surprised, Alara looked up and smiled. "Thank you," she said softly. From that day forward, they talked. At first, just a few words, about the weather, the color of the sky, the curve of the trees. But slowly, their conversations grew deeper. He told her about the town's history, about how he built boats with his father before he passed away. She shared stories of her lonely studio in the city and how her heart felt quieter here. As summer turned to autumn, the air crisped, and the leaves painted the world in amber and fire. Aiden would bring her warm tea, and Alara would sketch his face without him noticing. One evening, as the sun bled into the lake and shadows danced beneath the willow, Aiden turned to her. "Alara," he said, voice trembling slightly, "when you're not here, the lake looks different. Quieter. Emptier." She smiled, reaching for his hand. "I think it misses us." They sat beneath the tree in silence, fingers entwined. Months passed, and love bloomed like the spring that followed. Alara's paintings were more vibrant than ever, filled with emotion and depth. She held an exhibition in the city, and Aiden stood beside her, uncomfortable in his suit but glowing with pride. Her work sold quickly, especially one titled The Whispering Willow, a canvas capturing the golden evening they first held hands. Though she had offers from galleries around the world, Alara chose to stay in the town. She bought a larger cottage with Aiden, built a studio in the garden, and painted while he carved wooden sculptures beside her. They worked in silence, heart speaking louder than words ever could. Years later, when they were old and gray, they still walked to the willow tree every morning. And even when their hands trembled with age, they never stopped holding each other's, because love, once rooted, like the willow's deep embrace of the earth, only grows stronger with time. Whispers of the Horizon. On the southern coast of Italy, nestled between the cliffs and the restless sea, there was a quiet village named Laria. Time moved slower there, and the sun painted everything gold. In this forgotten corner of the world lived a young woman named Alara, a painter with eyes full of dreams and hands that spoke in colors. Alara spent her mornings walking along the shore, collecting shells and inspiration. Her small home overlooked the sea, and her studio was filled with unfinished canvases, each whispering fragments of stories. But there was always one painting she could never complete, a figure standing at the edge of the world, waiting. One stormy evening, as rain lashed against her window and waves pounded the rocks below, a knock echoed through her cottage. Startled, Alara opened the door to find a man, drenched and shivering, with a worn leather satchel slung over his shoulder. "My boat, it capsized," he said, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to intrude." She ushered him in without hesitation, wrapped him in blankets, and gave him warm tea. His name was Luca, a traveler and writer who had been sailing the coast in search of forgotten stories. He was charming, with a quiet sadness in his eyes, like someone who had been running for a long time. Days passed, and the storm refused to leave. Luca stayed, helping Alara with chores, cooking, and sharing stories by candlelight. They laughed often, but sometimes fell into comfortable silences, listening to the wind whisper secrets through the cracks in the walls. As the days turned into weeks, Alara began painting again, with a fire she hadn't felt in years. Luca became her muse, appearing in every stroke, every color, every canvas. She painted the way he smiled when he told her about his childhood, the way he looked at the horizon when he thought she wasn't watching. And Luca, in turn, wrote again. He filled pages with tales of love, of longing, of finding unexpected light in stormy places. But one morning, the sun broke through the clouds, and the sea was calm again. "It's time," Luca said quietly. "I have to keep moving." Alara's heart ached. "Will you come back?" He took her hand gently. "I don't know where I'll end up. But wherever I go, a part of me will always be here." She didn't ask him to stay. Artists understand that some stories need to keep moving to be fully told. Years passed. Alara became known beyond Laria. Her paintings, once timid and quiet, were now full of soul. But she never sold the one with the figure at the edge of the world. It hung above her fireplace, a reminder of the storm that brought him to her. Then one spring evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and turned the sky to fire, she heard a knock. She opened the door, and there he was. Older, weathered, but still with that same quiet sadness and the same warm smile. "I found my ending," he said, "and it led me back to you."